Hi guys, Jimmy. Welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to show you how to wire this M54 up on the floor and get it started and running on the floor and basic wire and stuff like that. This is a M54 electric throttle MS43 ECU. It's the same as a B22, this is a B25, B22, B25, B30, all the same wire and stuff like that, it's just internals that's different, right? So one, I'm going to show you how I wired up on the floor, how I've situated everything to get running, blah blah blah. And two, I'm not going to show you how to wire it to an E36, but I'm going to show you how easy it is by the time I deep in the ECU and stuff like that. I'm not going to put it in a car and wire it for you, but I will show you the basics and logistics of doing it and wee tips and tricks that you need to keep on the way, i.e. the brake switch. If you didn't earth out the brake switch and the math is bad, the car won't rev. So it needs that earthed out, but you'll see this further in the video. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. So when I'm finished with an E46, I take the wire looms out for scrap. So I like to keep the full pedal wire here uncut. That's ECU side. So here we have pedal wire. And OBD with a good bit of tails here, right? So I'll just unwind half of that, Stanley blade, whatever, and that's us right here to the ECU box. And this is obviously the car side of the ECU box. So that gives you a longer length for to go and deal with stuff. So by the time, it's a riot today, right? Because you need to drop the steering column down, right? Because the wiring comes from here, up round there, down and round at the back of this heater matrix and that, which I've just went tonto with a hammer and smashed to bits because it's scrap now, this car. I've dropped the relay box on the other side. The relay box here, I've kept the fuel pump relay on it now, but depending on what you're going to use it for, I'm going to show you how to wire it on the floor with all its own wiring, and then I'm going to show you how to wire it to an E36 kind of thing. So by the time you're finished going through all of this, you're left with that. ECU plug, I've got the tails of the other plug. This is obviously a different loom. This is like a fresh loom. And one I've done, here's one I made earlier, like Blue Peter. So we have uncut wires for the pedal. I didn't mind joining them up, but I like a uncut pedal wire. And then we just thin this down to what's needed and what's no. So I'm going to go and do the same with this. I'm going to go and unravel that, get me the full pedal wires out, but this time I'm going to keep the fuel pump relay. On it. On an E46, the fuel pump wire is white and blue, white with a blue stripe, this guy here. So if you're unsure what one it is, then just look for the white with blue wire. So you've got like a constant live, which is red with a blue kind of purplish stripe. Anything that's white and red is a switched live, so that's always live. When the key's on, that's on. When the ECU wakes up, it pings an earth up this one to trigger the relay, and then power fires down there to your fuel pump, and yabba dabba do, away you go. So I'm just going to go and unravel this loom and get it down to bare minimum, and I can start getting this car ready to fling back outside and get to the scrappies, but let's take care of this now. So by the time you're finished, this has got with the mess that you're left with there, that's just scrap, right? And here's the new loom, uncut pedal wire up to the ECU plug. It's got ECU plug with the uncut 6 pedal wires here. We've got tails of everything else, and we've got the fuel pump relay and the trigger with it. So all we need to do is, obviously the white and blue is going to power the fuel pump, however you want to do it, whatever. Right? This red blue gets a constant live. This red white gets a switched live, and I'll let you in a wee secret. See when you wake up the ECU with pin 26, I'm sure it is. See on this one that houses the reverse. This is reverse wire, so you've got green white, which is switch power for reverse. When the reverse switch is pushed, the green white basically touches that and it brings the reverse light on, but it works through a relay, but that's the theory of it. When that touches that, reverse light is on. But when the main relay is woken, this becomes live and it goes inside and it actually powers 2 or 3 different things. So that's going to go to the fuel pump relay, white, red, white. And then on this guy, we've got like a switched live, battery light, start. I'm sure the battery light is on there, I'm sure. A switch live, battery light, oil light, start. That should be about it. Starter feedback wire and stuff's on there too. We'll get further into that as we go. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and tidy all this mess, get this car outside. I'll pull my engine over. I'm going to run this thing on the floor. The engine was an auto, but on one of the last automatic ones that I done, I cut a bit of the gearbox off so I can put the starter on it. So I'm going to put, I'll zoom back out. I'm going to put a bolt in there, bolt the starter on, and then we'll just be going like, where are we? This guy. An earth there to get. Well, I'll do this better when it's actually on the floor and that for you, right? But the constant live that runs on the top of the engine. You've got an earth here. Also have an earth here, and there's a couple of things in the ECU box that'll get constant lives and stuff too, like here. But I'll show you as we go. So this is how I've set up on the floor just now. I have had it running. I'm going to show you what I've done just now. Right, so first of all, because the fuel pump that I'm using is diesel, right, I had a set of tails for a diesel fuel pump, right, so here's my trigger from the fuel pump relay, you can see there, right, so I've just took an earth right here, straight to the battery, right, this earth, right, it's red here, right, but I had to extend the wire, just bear with me, right, it goes into a brown wire, which is for the earth for the fuel pump. I have a constant live here, right, that I just power up. That's the engine live, right? So here I have earth bolted to the earth for the engine mount, and I've also strapped an earth to it for to get me across to here, which is earth in this part of the loom. It looks messy just now, right? But it works, right? Just to show you guys. And from the constant live that needs to be constant live for the fuel pump, and the constant live which is constant live for the actual engine, I've just undone them, just temporarily the new, just so I can squeeze the wire between it and tighten it back up. So now, when I take pin 26 of the ECU, this guy, and just tuck him in one of the constant lives, that's what I'm using to turn it on just now, right? Tuck him in the constant live, and you hear the engine waking up and buzzing, and you hear the fuel pump do a quick prime. So let's just do that. There we go. Engine buzzing, fuel pump prime. And from there, you just got to take the fattest black wire in here, and also just touch that with a constant live. Touch that with a constant live just in there, and it'll fire up and run. It is really loud, but we'll just do this for a quick second and then I'll pull it right. Taking this pin 26 from the ECU back away from power. Easy as that. So now there's all the wires straight away that's like no use just now. These didn't go anywhere right now. So then to fire it back up again, you just got to take pin 26 and put it on a live. It would be a switch live for the key, but this is constant live, so we just got to boom, that's awake. And then boom, that's started. Come on. I can start, you can't. Just like that. Really easy to wire up. It sounds a bit funny when it's running, but this fuel pump is just for a diesel, so It's maybe not got enough pressure for all the revs or whatever, but it does get running on the floor. So say you want to put this in, I don't know, put it in a Sierra, put in, I don't know, put it in anything you want. Put it in a Mazda MX-5 if you like hairdressers and stuff like that, I don't know. Put in whatever you like. Me, I would use this on an E36, so then I would go and thin down some wiring and adapt it to the E36 plug so it can plug and play into an E36. So when I take an E36, when I take an E36 1.8 engine out, it's no worth nothing, so I cut the loom off it. But I cut the loom off it to keep enough tails, and I always keep the fuel pump relay on the actual X20 plug. So there's the power that powers the fuel pump. That's got to be a constant live. The red and white's got to be a switch live, and your earth is going to trigger it. And everything from the E46 ECU can work that. On top of that, all you're taking is temp and RPM from temp, RPM, oil light, battery light from the E46 engine, and that's it. But if you're putting this engine on an E36, you need to change the temp sensor. This has a 2-pin temp sensor which is located here. You swap that for a 4-pin temp sensor from an E36. 2 of the wires get soldered to the temp sensor there, and you leave 2 that's got longer tails to come out and reach your X20 plug. That's all I will say. But when you buy these adapter looms, they actually come and you need to tap into a different ECU plug here with 1 wire to get your temp, which is controlled like come for this, but it's not as accurate as it should be, so I always go E36 temp sensor. However, if you start off with an E39 engine, there is a couple of wires different, right? But on a 5 series, they already had the 4-pin temp sensor. Like so. So you start with an E39 engine, M52, M54, they're already configured to do temp. So by the time you put the E46 engine together with the E39 engine, all these wires make sense, but you already have temp here. So wait a minute, these two, I'm trying to untangle them a little. These first 2 here are temp. Temp earth and temp signal. Temp earth is brown yellow, temp signal is brown purple. Right, then you have one there that's like oil level sensor that we're not going to use. The blue is battery light. This one, this is the switch live that when you wake up the ECU, when the main relay is woken up, this becomes live so it can go and power a fuel pump for you. A switch live to your fuel pump, and then you use the trigger off the actual ECU plug to power that. You get oil light, battery light, and start from here too. Thickest black always start, battery light always blue. Start feedback, black green, that disables all the other relays inside the car for when you go to crank it, so the starter can get maximum crank power. There's a switch live there. I'll have to beep test that to see if that was for the alternator switch live or the oil level sensor switch live. It possibly be for both in one go, but I'll have to beep test that to confirm. It's been a while since I looked at an E39 version of this. Sorry, I missed a part here, right? I'm going to just track back a little. So if you're putting an M54 into an E36, you want this from the donor car, the fuel filter, because this doesn't have a return here, because the pressure regulator is here. So you either use the E46 fuel filter and adapt the fuel lines, right? Or you can go to an M52 TU and take the fuel pressure, you can take the fuel rail off it because that has a return on it. Up to yourself what you think is easier, but every car I pull in, I just take the fuel filter off and the fuel lines with it. These fuel lines actually fit a 36. This actually fits the 36 as well. This is basically the same clamp as a 36, because this has only got one line in for fuel, where you'll find an M52 TU as a 1 in and a 1 out. So it's up to yourself. I'll quickly take you over to a TU and show you the difference there. It's probably the same amount of work taken. I mean, there you go, fuel pressure regulator and return. So it's probably the same amount of work taking this off of here and swapping it with the other one, as taking the fuel lines off the car, blah blah blah. I just thought I'd show you that before I go, so I'll put this in the middle of the video somewhere so you know, because I just had a wee afterthought when I finished the video there. I better let you know about this. Except from that, E46 engine mounts, boom, straight into E36, power steering pipe, straight into 36, no problem. Only thing you will be doing is you'll be using the cooler. You can use the cooler, but it doesn't fit in the grill very nice. It can be used, but you would just, that's basically just a flow into the fuel anyway. When I'm building E36s, say I've used an E39 engine, I've had to use engine mounts off a 46 and power steering pipes off a 46. So that stuff all works on a 36, so there's not really nothing that I really need to tell you here that you're not going to know or learn along the way anyway. So yeah, that'll do it. Right, so here I have everything set up. I have my E46 wiring here. There's all the tails. I'm going to do the tails now. Pedal wires all been taped up, so it's just nice and it stays pedal. We have the other two plugs that come onto the body as well. We'll go through them in a minute, and I have the ect plug here. So right now I'm just going to show you what to do with this plug. So if you come to this plug, right, go underneath here, you see there is a wee tab there. So just lift that tab up, lift the tab up and pull the plug. Just take one plug at a time. There's a grey plug which houses 6 pedal wires, and there's an air couple in here too, but I'm going to go through them right now and see what we can de-pin. So these are pins 1 to 20. So I'm just going to use my pin out here and go through them and say needed or not needed, right? So, and if not needed, then what you do, if you can see the wee tabs in there, push that tab down, push the pin back, and you need to push the tab down again to get out here. So I'm just got to run through. 1 empty, 2 empty, 3 is air pump, so we're not going to use that. So I'm going to pull on the wire slightly, push this tab down. That's that popped out the first part, push it down again, and there's one for the bin, right? So that was pin 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, pin 4. Electric cooling fan, we're not going to use that. We like viscous fans is better. Right, then we're going straight to 10. Pin 10 is fuel pump really, earth. When you switch the car on, this earths to the fuel pump, as we spoke about before. So that's everything done on this one already, because we have 6 pedal wires, right? Pedal wires are always a straight yellow, straight white, straight brown, and they follow through with a yellow with green, white with green, and brown with green, right? Skinny black, always RPM signal on a BMW, which this is pin 17, engine speed signal, right? So there's one plug done already. So by the end of this, like, we're going to have 8 wires on that plug, and probably 2 or 3, I think maybe just 2 on this one, 2 or 3. So same again, we've got to take this, got to push this tab up here while pulling on the loom. Right, so we start on, let's start for the low number. Starts on 21, and there isn't a 21, so 21's empty. 21 empty, 22 signal, process wheel speed signal, right rear. If you're putting an E36, you can't get speed signal to work. This is why we get ABS limiter delete. So there's one lost there. Pin 23, clutch switch. We don't need clutch switch, so that can go away. Now this one's very important, right? Next one is brake switch, right? So on an E46, if you unplug the MAF, you won't get to left foot brake. Or if the MAF is dead, you won't get to left foot brake. So if you wire this up into your E36 and it does not rev, it's because this wire here needs to go to an earth. That's like the left foot brake trick on an E46. You don't use the brake test switch and you use the brake signal, you just earth that. So we're going to keep that one, that's going to get earthed, right? But we'll come back to it. So 21, 22, 23, pin 24 that is. Pin 25 is empty, pin 26 is waking up the ECU, and it'll be green with purple. If it was an E39 ECU, sometimes it's just green with a black line. So we're keeping that. Pin 27, steering wheel buttons, we're not using that. Another one we can lose. Right, so pin 28. Pin 28 is signal brake light test switch, right? We can get rid of this wire. This is to do with the brakes as well. This brake test switch and the brake signal switch and the clutch switch kind of all work together. But as long as you earth out this brake switch here, it'll rev whether you have a MAF plugged in or not. Right, so now we go to pin 29. 29 compressor, AC compressor. We're not using aircon, so we can get rid of that. Honestly, by the time we get rid of all these wires here, we're left with virtually nothing but OBD, wake up ECU and blah blah blah. Right, 31, there isn't a 31, so 32 is diagnostic, which is clearly white purple, and it's going to connect to a white purple on the E36. 33, immobiliser, black and purple for immobiliser wire. We've got EWS delete ECU, so we don't need that. But I'll maybe do another video on showing you how to wire up EWS if you're in a country that it's hard to find people that map ECUs and blah blah blah, or if you're like really in a remote area, I will show you how to wire up EWS, but I'll probably make a separate video for that. Right, so we're going straight to the CAN wires now, which is pin 36, 37. We're not using CAN bus, so they can go both of. Then that leaves us with 39 and 38, which is coolant temperature outlet. We are also not using these, not on an E36. Because on an E46 the wiring from that goes up to, it doesn't actually come with the engine, so we don't need it. It stays on the chassis when you take the engine out. Right, so that's us thinned down. So here we're left with 26, switch power, wake up ECU. This is the brake light switch, which is going to be earthed to the body constantly. And that means it'll run and rev with the MAF plugged in and not plugged in. I'll show you, I will show you this on the engine run on the floor about the MAF thing. And then OBD wire, which is pin 32. So here we go, 3 wires on that and 8 wires on this one here. So I'm going to click them back in, the plugs in here. Sorry, kick the camera stand. So you can really put these in the wrong way. That black one wouldn't go in there because it's the wrong way, and there's an arrow facing up the way, meaning you slide it up and in. So you try and put it in that one, it won't go. Put it in that one, goes straight home. Same again with the grey. So in the grey we've got 6 pedal wires which is bunched together. We have the black purple here, which is switching the earth to the fuel pump relay for it to get fuel, and RPM signal for here. And again, if you face the arrow up the way, pins facing the front obviously, boom, clicked in, home. And so that's that part done. I'm just using this. Didn't worry about this side of the stuff. This was because I used it to do a E46, which was a 2-plug ECU, and using it for an M54. So any diagrams that I use, I will put the diagrams up for you to follow yourself, so you can understand a wire before you lose the wire, kind of thing, right? I always do that. So we'll put that to the side just now, and we will get the other 2 plugs that go with the ECU in the ECU hole, but they're not actually ECU plugs. These are actually power the engine and that, i.e. like we have thick black for start and stuff like that. So we've got a quick run over. Again, this is like a conversion thing. This is showing you for the 1.82 plug ECU to the M54. So I used that the other week to do a N46 to M54 swap. So this one, fairly simple, right? This 3-pin plug is referred to as the X6021 plug, right? So when the ECU is woken up by its pin 26, it triggers the main relay which comes with the engine, and then this actually takes power back in, and this powers the fuel pump relay. This is the wire that I used on the floor for to trigger the fuel pump relay, like for to trigger a switch live. Anything that's red and white is switched live, right? This one, so I'll just tell you pin numbers while I'm here, right? Pin 4, green and white, needs to get a switch live, right? This is for reverse switch. Blue yellow is for the reverse switch. It works through a relay, but this gets switched live when the reverse switch is pushed and they two come together. It triggers a relay, and inside the car it makes the reverse lights come on. So that one be pin 3, and pin 2 is the red white, which is going to wake up which is going to switch live to the fuel pump relay. That's that. So that took care of already. That's fairly easy. Again, I'll put this sheet in a Google Drive, and all links to any diagrams that I've used or whatever will all be in a Google Drive. You'll find the link in the description of the video once it's done. Right, so let's come over to this 8-pin plug, which is called the X6011. Right, so straight away, pin 1, fat black starter, is going to be the same on the E36. It's going to be a fat black, but on the E36 it is the fattest black wire, but on the E36 some of them have a black and yellow, some have a black with a yellow line, so but it's going to follow through and be right. So pin 1, start. Pin 2 is is to get a switch live, and this will power up. This will take a switch live to the alternator and to the oil level sensor. That will power both of them. We're not using the oil level sensor, but this wire splits in two from the engine loom and does its own thing, so don't need to worry about that. Pin 3 is oil pressure light. The colours will match up on E36 as well. It's brown, green. Pin 4 is battery charging, and it's straight blue. It's dark blue, but it's straight blue. And when you go to the E36 loom, it's still blue. Right, on the opposite side of that, we go to pin 5. Pin 5 is oil level sensor to the instrument cluster. Again, we're not going to use that. And then pin 6 is engine start feedback, so it knows to turn all the relays off inside the cab so the car can get full cranking power. So I think straight away I'm going to clip this tab off here, and I'm going to lose the oil pressure one out of here. It's just a quick push and get rid of the pin. So I'll pop this guy off here without stabbing myself, and I didn't. Get rid of the oil level sensor pin. Again, these are just like the big pins inside, they just slide out. So there's oil level sensor thing, and by the time you lift that wee tab there, you get to see this wee guy. I'm going to make it zoom out a bit. This. Push that down, pull the pin out, see you later. And then you can just shut your cover again. That stops them falling out, but they can't really fall out. So clip that on. So that covers that. Right, so I'm going to put that all out the way now, and then we'll get the X20 plug up. So, as said before, this X20 plug's already been done. I'm going to zoom out, I think. Zoom out. I'm pretty sure I've already thinned this one down, but there was a reason I didn't use it, and I think it was because it was from an auto. So there's a couple of pins that need shuffled about in here. So, let's just run over this. So all we need to use in here is obviously we've got alternator, yes. Oil pressure, yes. 2 switched lives, RPM. The service reset wire, will keep it right, but you just leave a tail out, and when you need to reset the service light on the BMW clocks, you're just going to touch this wire off an earth. 18 is the black with the yellow, which again, it's the fattest black wire in there. Fattest black, but on a E36 it's black and yellow. That's going to go to your fat black on the E46 loom. 13, that's fuel pump relay. which is this. This is actually the power out for to go and power the fuel pump. That's fairly straightforward. Your coolant temperature to cluster, which I have these wires on here. So by the time you put your 4-pin temp sensor into the E46, and I need to quickly find my diagram. I think I've got a picture of that diagram which shows you every temp sensor and what the colours do on a 46 and how to solder them to a 36, so you can make sense of that. I'll probably put a wee, I'll probably get a wee clip of that for you as well. So it's really got to be fairly basic. I think, what have I've already lost stuff here already. So we have OBD wire here, right? OBD, white purple, you've got to connect it to OBD white purple. What I'm going to do with this now is, if you connect white purple to the ECU here, when you go inside to the E36, if you go to your EWS box, you will find all you need for an OBD port is a constant live, a switch live, and the OBD white purple. This can all be found inside the car at the EWS box. The EWS box isn't going to need that anymore. You can cut it off or you can tap into it, it's up to you. So what you do is beep test it and look for a constant live. Just put a voltmeter on it. Look for something that's constant live. Make sure there's nothing else constant live between the other pins. Then switch the key on, then run along and look for a switch live, and then you could tap into them for your OBD port. And then you're just tapping into the white purple, which is an OBD wire, obviously runs into the EWS box too on an E36. So you get OBD there. That means that you'll have an OBD port, an OBD2 port as well, in your E36 round about the glove box. You get to hang it down under the glove box or put it away nice, whatever you want to do with it. But then when you go to read the codes, you can then read chassis codes, because this all works together. I've actually done this and tested it on the last M57 video that I've done. So when you want to read the codes, you just go in and say, go for, like, if you want to read engine codes, you go E36, E46, 2002, 325, 323, whatever it is. You get to read engine codes, and you come back out and you want to read chassis codes, go in as an E36, and you're looking at ABS stuff like that, so you can fix an ABS sensor, so you're not going to lose your ability to read the car, basically. So in here we have this big thick, I'm sure we're on, this is 21, right? So this powers a few things. This is going to switch live to something, right? So you'll see there's a couple in here. So you can switch, you can use these greens. I mean, there's a skinny one in here, which we'll find it. It'll be this one. You can use this green to wake up the ECU, pin 26 on that, right? There's also a thicker one, which could power something else. Or you could undo this off of there and just put two skinny ones on it. So if you've got two things to power, i.e. you need to power the ECU and you need to put a switch live down the green and white here for reverse light. So that's how you do that. So blue alternator light is going to go to blue on, where is it, this plug? The blue on here. But like when you do this, like you want to put the engine in the hole, put the ECU up in the ECU hole, and then start doing wiring. Don't wire it on the floor or something. I'm just showing you how to get this running on the floor and then understand the logistics of the engine, sort of thing. But in all honesty, you want to use this in anything here that's circled. That's all we're going to use. So we're not using exhaust flap, not using AC, not using that. We're not using immobiliser. That's 12 volt switch from ECU. We're not using that ECU anymore, so we're not using that. Vehicle speed signal is not compatible with an E46, so we're not using that. Reverse light, yes. Coolant, yes. Fuel pump relay, yes. 14 not used. Starter relay unloader, yes, we will use that on this, and it also goes to starter relay unloader on this plug here, which is on this wee side diagram here. This diagnostic RTX, this is for E36 OBD plug, right? But I'm sure it switches 12 volt, so you could actually keep hold of that, and that could switch 12 volt to your reverse or something like that. Your diagnostics is going to go to pin 32 on the new ECU, and then you can make a diagnostic port inside the car. Start is going to go straight to start. You can keep this hanging as a wee single wire somewhere with a cap on it, and then obviously that's not the right wire, but you can keep this data link service reset, just keep it hanging about in the bay somewhere so you can just come to it when you've done a service on the car. You literally just take a wee cover off the end of it, touch it off the earth, and that's the oil weight reset. Engine speed signal, which is RPM, that's a straight black on this, and it's got to be straight black on that. 21 was this big thick wire. This one doesn't actually have a 22 somehow, pin 22. We don't have a 22 in here. Well, came up we do, but I've used it as, I've took out the, what I've done here, I've used the vehicle, the 12 volt here. I've already been at this plug, but I didn't use it for another reason at the time. So I have took this red white out of here because we don't have the E36 ECU, which is switching power back to us, right? It's no, this isn't to take a switch inward, it's giving a switch back. So I've put that into pin 22 because the pin 22 in here was also a big fat one like this, so it was no good. So I've used this one, so basically I can use this red and white to switch live to reverse or whatever, right? So, and then we've got oil pressure, which is brown with a green line, which is going to go to oil pressure, brown with a green line, which was found on this 8-pin plug here. All the colours match up, you really can't go wrong with this. We're not going to get fuel consumption, but we've got alternator, so it's covered already. So all you do is take that information, go to the motor. So long as you have so long as you have all your earths in place, so earth on the engine mount as always, your constant live. When I put this in an E36, I would take this constant live off the starter and I would use the E36 one to the starter. So that gives you power from your constant live for the battery, if the battery's in the bay here, right? Constant live to the battery, and that battery cable comes with the cable to go there, the cable to go to the battery, and then the cable to go to the fuse box, so the fuse box has constant power, right? On top of that, all you're going to do is give these two here constant power, which is this, constant live, so you want the tails of this to get a constant live. This is to get an earth, and what else are we left with? The fuel pump relay is going to get a constant live, and that's it. It'll literally fire in and work. So where's it? Fuel pump relay. So we're going to be using this fuel pump relay, so this has got to be a constant live here. Anything straight red is constant live, anything that's to get switched is red and white. So this red and white can be either switched off this pin 16 or the wee red and white that I put into pin 22, because the pin 22 already had a big fat wire. I'm not actually going to wire this, but I've gave you all the details to do it. It's really easy to manage, to be fair. I think what I will do, I'm going to finish this here. I'm going to go and dig out my wee diagram that I had for temp sensors and stuff like that, and I'll show you what you need to do with the temp sensor stuff. So I'm back quickly, right? Temp sensor stuff. So if you're working with a petrol engine, right, your pin 1 on the temp sensor that's on the actual engine, right, is red-brown, which is coolant signal to ECU. Pin 2 is grey-brown, which is coolant earth to ECU, alright? So all you're going to do is swap to the 4-pin temp sensor, cut the plug off of the temp sensor, right close to the plug so you have enough wires to work with, right? And then you're going to put pin 1, which is red-brown, to pin 3 on the E36 temp sensor, which is the same colours, but I think they're inverted, red, brown, brown, red, right? Which is coolant signal to ECU. As long as it's signal to signal and earth to earth, that's fine. And that's it. So that will leave you, by the time you do brown red to red brown, grey brown to grey brown, that's the ECU is going to know the temp, so that's fine. And then that's got to leave you your other two plug two here, which is brown purple, to which is going to be brown purple, and here all the colours have got to match back up here. This has got to keep your clocks happy, and that's easy as that. So I think what I'm going to do now, since I have depinned all of this and stuff like that, just show you, I'm going to take you back to the engine. I need to put these plugs back on it because I stole them for the current engine that I'm dealing with. I'm going to take you back to the engine. I'm going to unplug the MAF and show you that it does not rev until I earth out this little pin which I say needs earth. So give me 2 seconds, I'm going to set this up and I'll come back and I'll do this in a minute. Right, so here, MAF unplugged. right? Can we even see the MAF through there? Yeah, right. The MAF is unplugged, right? So I'm going to put my power off to it. Put my power wire now. I'm going to wake up the ECU. Sorry, I'm probably standing in my way a bit, like, but wake up the ECU. I'm going to start it, right? But it's not going to respond to revs. It might take a second to actually do anything. Do that again, right? MAF's still unplugged, right? And this time I will start it first and show you it not revving. And this is this brake test switch, right? I'll start it, show you it not revving. I'll hold that off the earth. Let me take that earth away from alive, right? I'll hold this off the earth and we'll watch it rev. Right, so start, show you it not revving. I'll hold this off an earth and it will rev. Too many times there, but you get the gist of it, right? It revved and it didn't rev, it revved and it didn't rev. So that's always what I show you there. So that pin needs to be earthed, which is easy to do, and that means you can run it without a MAF, because when these things go down, when the MAFs go down, they can be funny. So, and this is the trick to get a left foot brake working in an E46 that doesn't have a good MAF, because it should let you left foot brake if it has a good MAF. So this is the trick to that. So I think I'm pretty much going to finish this video up here, guys. I think I've kind of showed you enough on how to do it. Any questions, fire away, whatever. I don't mind helping people back and forth as long as you don't take too much of my time. I know I'm not exactly going to, I'm not showing you all the wires, how to connect and blah, 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 but I've showed you the basics, and from that, and showing you what to do in the E36 stuff and that, you should kind of know what to do, basically. So I'm going to end it here, but if this video was helpful to you, please like, share, subscribe, show your mates, whatever. We all like engines running the flares, pretty cool, I think. I think it's my new thing. As soon as the engine comes out of this M54, this is an M52 E36 engine, I'll probably just do it with that too. Why no? This is my thing. I do these kind of things every day, so I think it's really cool to see an engine run on the floor, to be fair, eh? Hey guys, anyway, thanks very much for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.